This is the TAF Hub, a show brought to you by TAF Africa Global to educate you on real estate matters, to mentor you and inspire you.
After 48 years of working and also traveling all over the world, I am ready to share my experience with you, especially those young ones who follow me for inspiration.
I welcome you to yet another session or sessions. This is our 6th, 7th, and 8th session.
And Emily is going to speak on accountability. We welcome Madam Emily Joof. You know, protocol says that ladies first. That's why Fadi said, okay, no, let's have the lady first. Madam Joof, please, yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right. Good afternoon. Thank you for that lovely and warm introduction. I first want to commend you all, after those housekeeping rules, for being here, because I got here and you were already here. So thank you for being here. Thank you for prioritizing us. Thank you for being open to listen. And thank you to Uncle TAF and his wonderful team for inviting me to speak today. I had to think long and hard about the theme for today. The word accountability feels a bit stiff, you know? It feels like it belongs in the world of finance, maybe high-level offices, perhaps public policy. So I hesitated quite a bit before committing to speak to you all on this topic. I wondered to myself, how many young people reflect and think on how accountable they are, whether they should be accountable, and to whom? It's quite a large word, but being accountable simply means being able to explain and justify one's actions and demands. So for me, being accountable is holding your why at the very center of everything. If you're unsure what your why is, it's simply your drive, your passion, which Fadi will tell us a bit about, and it's something we should all have. So if you're sitting there together today thinking, well, I don't know my why, well, here comes your first assignment from me. I challenge you to go home and reflect on it today. Think about what are the things in your life that spark joy, that boost energy and motivate you, and then hold on to those thoughts. I plan on challenging you today. I want you all to be accountable to yourselves, first and foremost. As a person of faith, my decisions are anchored in the core values that drive me, and they are personal to me. My values are being kind, constantly to everyone I meet, offering grace, being a continuous learner, and finally, a firm commitment to addressing social justice. None of these values come easy to me, but I hold on to them as my true north. Being kind when you're exhausted, I'm a mom to small children, can feel completely unachievable sometimes, but we can do it. Offering grace pushes me to think from other people's perspectives and to remember that not everyone holds the same values and thoughts as me. Being a continuous learner gives me humility. The more you age and the more certificates we hold, we might be inclined to think, yeah, I've done it. I can call myself an expert now. And that is something I do my utmost to stay away from. This allows me to explore new ways constantly, to find new solutions, and to listen. Combating social justice is a given. Everyone on earth should have their rights upheld. So homework, here comes another. When you leave today, take a minute and write down the 5 core values that center you, that drive you, that ensure that you are your best self when you look in the mirror. I am an educator, as you can tell with all the homework talk, right? I have worked for over 10 years now in international development across the globe, from Indonesia to China, through African countries, all the way to Peru and Latin America. I've lived in over 5 countries. I speak English, Wolof, French, and Swedish. And all this experience had taught me that as humanity, we are so similar. There is so much more that unites us than separates us. I'm also a writer of children's stories. I have published 11 books to date, and I have my eye on a project to open a children's library very soon. All my books center the African diaspora experience. I'm a founder of a micro-publishing house called Mbife Books, which is registered in Sweden and the Gambia. And I'm devoted to working with and for young people, so it's really a pleasure to be here today to speak to you. Holding myself accountable has been one of the key things that has shaped my life. It has allowed me to take risks when I'm comfortable and to challenge myself. At times, that movement might seem less advantageous to others, but if the decision is aligned with your core values, remember, then that decision is right for you. I'll give you an example. I was doing a PhD program up until a few months ago, in addition to working full-time, in addition to writing and running my publishing house. And because I decided that the Gambia needed a children's library, I dropped out of the PhD program, which is a decision that does not make a lot of sense to many people. But if you reflect on the fact that we have no children's library, and we want our children to have foundational skills in reading, then for me, that makes a lot of sense. Again, it all starts with the self. A few years ago, I was in Sweden, working in a career that I chose and love. I'm one of those lucky people who truly enjoy going to work in the morning. I get energized going in the field, checking out my projects, training teachers, designing tools to support children to learn better. My cup was full, or so I thought. One day I was reading global statistics on learning achievements, and I could see countries I had worked on moving the needle slowly forward. I could also see data from the Gambia and Western Africa, and how much further we had to go to ensure that there was quality learning in our classrooms. Globally, to give you an example, 1 out of 10 children are out of school in the whole world. In Africa, it's 1 out of 5 that are out of school. And then when we look in our own backyard of West Africa, it's 1 in 3. 1 child out of 3 are out of school. I had to hold myself accountable. I could have blamed politics or conflicts in the region or policies or teacher salary or even COVID. But my instinct has always been to start with me. What am I going to do about it? Or what can I do about it? The answer isn't always clear, and it really was not that simple. But a few years later, I am home in West Africa, still trying to do something about it. Third homework for you. I see incredible potential in front of me. Hundreds of young people in front of me. So when you go home today, I would like you to think of your community. You are from there, you live there, you know the challenges like no one else can. I would like you to center yourself as being part of the solution. You might find motivation, you might find partnerships, you might find advocacy is necessary. Think on it. That is the first step. I mentioned earlier that I was a writer. Before 2018, I never dreamed of being a writer. I had zero ambition or interest in writing. In fact, I'm the kind of person who went to school and was told I wasn't that good at writing. But in the years before 2018, I was blessed to become a mom, an African mom raising 2 little children in Sweden. There are many, many wonderful things about becoming a mother in Sweden. However, it is undeniable that racism towards people of African origin is also prevalent there. And I watched these microaggressions, as we call them, exclusion and racism, seep into our family. And it occurred to me that I had roots from Africa that were firm and unshakable. I had culture that I could lean on, which gave me strength that my children simply did not have. Our home, those 4 walls in the apartment, therefore had to carry all the culture so we could pass it on to them, so they could withstand the ice-cold racism. And again, when faced with a problem, I asked myself, what could I do? I could have blamed society. I could have blamed policies, but I centered myself. I hold myself accountable. My children, like they do so often, gave me the answer. A simple one, really. They asked me for stories from home. They asked me about the language. They asked me about fruits that we eat here, about our clothing, about traditions, why the Kankurang dances. And I started writing, and I never stopped. Apart from being accountable to myself, I am accountable to my family, to my community, and to my nation. Gambia is a place of unique beauty, incredible community, and wonderful people. And I'm not just saying that. When I say that, people laugh and say, "Hanagisulo problemi." I realize that. But I have the privilege to work across all regions. From region 1 to 6, I'm around those long, dusty roads every month. The landscape is breathtaking, but what is truly unique are the people. We have managed to hold on to one of the greatest powers on earth. We have community. In Gambia today, a stranger will send their child to school in another region, and another stranger will put that child through school, will feed them, will clothe them, and will house them. Neighbors will rebuild each other's homes after a disaster, like the floods which unfortunately happen so often to us now. Anyone off the street will offer you a compliment just because. Just the other day I was driving and someone said, "Hey, Auntie Samuso will be nice." Just because. I grew up remembering that you could stop and ask for a glass of water in any house on your way home from school, and it would be given to you. I grew up learning that food is always shared, no matter how small. And I was taught to respect others around me and treat them as I want to be respected. These are all qualities that are quintessentially Gambian. We act this way towards each other, not because anyone makes us, or chastises, or even sees us when we do it. We do it because we are a community, and we choose to allow the community to flourish over an individual to succeed. As youth, members of this community, you hold the power to tighten these bonds, to take what was and is our tradition and make it a system for change. You, as youth, are the single most valuable asset in the Gambia today. I'm so proud of that. We are accountable to you, to invest in you, to guide and to empower you, to ensure that you can lead us into a sustainable, thriving Gambia that we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. For the first question is, what is the role of accountability in leadership?
With our generation and how the European countries depict themselves as better for basically immigrants in general, that I guess, with the lavish lifestyle and, you know, the Hollywood theme and everything like that, with the butler and everything, is it completely different from what you experienced? You know, just to explain that to many Gambians. And then also, I wanted to ask, comparing statistics to most of the African countries with economic and education and class status from both Western or European nations, to assume like it's impossible to be a developed nation.
From your experience, what are some common challenges or obstacles people face when it comes to taking accountability?
You talk about accountability and then you have self-accountability. So when does it struck you to take accountability about the community and then the nation?
Thank you. Great.
My hashtag is I love questions, so I'm really pleased that there were so many. So I'll start at the beginning on the role of accountability within leadership. I think for me personally, accountability is certainly at the heart of leadership. Being able to stand for the decisions and the choices that you make is at the core of leadership. You are accountable in whatever it is that you are working on, but also you need to build, empower those around you to be accountable to the mission, right? Despite the passion being the drive, the motivation for you starting an initiative, a business, an organization, you will never be a one-man team. So therefore, you must share this passion. You must empower your teammates, and you must all be accountable to the mission of the organization. So as you can see, they're deeply intertwined. I would also like to say that in terms of the layers of accountability, you as the leader are accountable for the vision, for the growth of the organization, whatever initiative you're working on together, for the well-being of all those around you. Every single day, those people leave their homes and come to work and show up for this vision, this seed that you have planted. So you are accountable for their well-being and for success. The strategic thinking, the decision-making does not have to be taken in isolation, but a good leader has to know that the buck starts and ends with them. So that's, I hope that answered your question. There was a follow-up question on how the passion affects my lifestyle. Personally, in my career, it has affected everything. As a child, Fatima will attest, I decided I was going to work in development. I was excited to work with young people. I think I was about 6 or 7. And so through primary school, did all the volunteering, high school, did Model UN. I interned like it was something that I was trying to get a high score at. I put all the pieces in place to be able to develop a career in development. And here's what I learned, that you can have more than one passion. Right? I turned 30-something and developed a passion in writing. I was 20-something when I developed a passion in growing things. Agriculture got very exciting for me. After killing so many plants around me, I had a little child who wanted to grow. And so I set out to learn as much as I could, and now I grow stuff. We talk about passion like it's a singular thing, but truly, you can be passionate about several things, but you need to put in the work so that you can learn and give it enough time, energy, and do it justice. The next question was about the realities of life in Europe versus what is portrayed. It's always hard to generalize. I've lived in Paris, London, and Stockholm. They're all 3 very distinct and different experiences. And I think it all has to do with their relationship with others. So in London, it's a highly multicultural, highly diverse society because of their colonial legacy. Stockholm has a very different legacy. They were involved in slavery, but it's very hush-hush. They don't tell much people, and they pretend like it never happened. So I'd say they're way behind in race relations. In reality, most of the countries in Europe appear to be perfect. to have the best of everything. The truth is, they do not want others to benefit from this perfection. And so I would encourage us to find those perfections, to invest our energy, time, money, ideas right here on this continent. There is nowhere that is better. The last question were common challenges around accountability. There was a question around there. I find, and it was about moving from the self to the community. I think there is a natural progression in that if I have my core values and I'm accountable to myself to be the best human I can be, that is directly linked to my ability to be the best person within my community. Because this is the way the Gambian cultural setup exists. I do not exist separate from my community, right? I live within them. I participate in all the ceremonies. I am somebody's auntie. If I see a child walking down the street, I may not know them. It is my responsibility to say, are you all right? Take care when crossing the street. So there is no clear line between the self, the community, and the nation. But for you starting out, trying to develop that sense of accountability, start with the self. Just like Fatim was saying, empowerment, it starts with the self. There's so much more to it. Think of it as rings in the water. When you drop something, there's that first ring that will be you, the second might be your family, the extended family, your community, all the way to your nation, and perhaps Africa, the world at large. I hope I've answered your question.
This seems impossible until it's done. So we have this poster. So any African walking in here, or any person walking into here, any young person walking into here, when you read this, it gives you courage, it gives you confidence that there's somebody who's made it, and that's what he has done. The Madiba Mall, named after Nelson Mandela. For those of you who don't know, Madiba Mall is a vision I had about 2 decades ago. So when I was building it, a lot of people were skeptical about building such a facility in Bruford Gardens. But that's what happens when you have a vision. You think ahead of the general population. So I developed this mall, which comprises of shops, restaurants, cafes, offices, and general purposes. So when I first started, it didn't do very well. People didn't buy into it, but now everything has been occupied. Hi guys, you know today is the 18th of July and it is Nelson Mandela Day. Do you know that if he was alive, he would have been 105 years old? Now, this is Madiba Mall. Nelson Mandela is my hero and my role model. And the reason why I have really chosen him as my hero and my role model is because of the values that he has demonstrated as a leader. In Robben Island for 27 good years, he fought for what he stood for. And when he was liberated and set free, he only served for 1 term and he left. That's a lesson for African political leaders. Now, I will tell you why I chose him. I had to name this mall after him. I'm sure none of his relatives know about this. But this is what you do when you leave a legacy. He's left a legacy, and all over the globe, there are Mandela, Madiba, you name it. So this is now Madiba Mall, and it's named after Mandela because he's my role model. I aspire to be like him. He inspired me even though I have never set eyes on him physically. And I'll just take you through all of his quotes. You will find it here in the mall. So leaders need to set good examples. They need to leave a legacy, just like Nelson Mandela. So as you enter there, what you see here, Mandela says, it always seems impossible until it's done. So we have this poster. So any African walking in here, or any person walking into here, any young person walking into here, when you read this, it gives you courage, it gives you confidence that there's somebody who's made it, and that's what he has done. Now let me take you up the stairs. That's not the only quote we have. I'll take you upstairs also. It's everywhere. I just believe in Mandela. He is my hero. Let me take you to this first floor. I have done this because I want everybody who walks into this facility to see the quotes that he's left behind. So again here, he says, sometimes it falls upon a generation to be great. You can be that great generation. Let your greatness blossom. Again, Mandela. So these are things that if you see daily, it inspires you, it gives you courage, it gives you confidence to be like this great man. 105 years he would have been today. I wish he was still alive. Then let's go to the second floor, the last floor. And these are things that I see every day. My staff, they see it. And also visitors, they do. Visitors also see it. So please don't just read and go along, but you should read it and make sure, take one quote at least away from him. So here we go. This is the last quote I have here on the second floor, and it says, action without vision is only passing time. And then vision without action is merely daydreaming. But vision with action can change the world. Again, Nelson Mandela, thank you, and great man, we love you.
Yes, I do. Why? Because of Nelson Mandela. He's our idol and our hero. Yes, and my dad has always talked about him.
Why the building called Madiba? Because our MD said this guy, he's his role model, Nelson Mandela. That's why he named the building Madiba Mall.
Because it's named after one of the most respected people in Africa, from South Africa, Nelson Mandela.
It was named after Nelson Mandela, the former South African president.
Because MD believes so much and he respects Nelson Mandela and what he stands for.
They named it after Nelson Mandela.
Is the inventor of our MD,
yeah? Madiba because it's named after Nelson Mandela.
Okay, I believe it is named Madiba Hall because of Nelson Mandela. The CEO named it after him.
Nelson Mandela, of course, is MD's mentor.
It's named after Nelson Mandela.
Madiba.
Of course.
Why?
It's named after Nelson Mandela.
Madiba.
He's the former South African president who was in jail for 23 years.
27 years.
27?
Yes.
Okay. And he came back from jail and he became the president of South Africa.
And what I liked most about Nelson Mandela was his ability to forgive and reconcile even after apartheid and move South Africa towards a new direction.
Thank you for watching the TAF Hub. Until we come your way on our next episode, subscribe, like, and share.